Hey, hey, let's make up something. Let's do that. As far as melody goes, one of the most important things is being able to hear the music and then play something and hear what you're playing. A lot of experience comes into play, yeah, and good ear, but just knowing your chords really well and where those lay down on the neck and your scales alongside of them is very important. I spent a lot of time on working with triads and the chord tones, memorizing them all over the neck. All the different triads and things. So I could, it's the map's right there in front of you if you just do a little bit of research and learning. And I think a good place to start would be, just maybe watching me do it. You should be able to sit down and listen to a backing track and come up with a nice little melody. And that's what we're going to do. You should also be able to sit down and just have someone give you numbers like one to 6. Just pick up just do like a random thing, 1, 3, 1, 6, and you should be able to actually write something with that in mind. Like let's do that. I just 1, 3, 1, 6. Now I'm not sure that's going to be really great, but let's just listen to it. I'm talking about the Nashville number system, the chords. We're in the key of E, so 1 would be E, and then what was it? 1, 4, 1, 6 is what I think I said. So 1, 4, 1, 6. Okay, so that's what that is. So, oh, sorry, my thing's going off. Anyway, so let's look at what that looks like. 1, so I have anywhere on the neck that I see an E chord or 1, whatever key I'm in, I can play those notes. I can do that. So my solo may start off with a B note right here because that's the 5th of E, which is the 1. So any one of the 3 or 4, if you count the 7ths, any one of the 3 notes in E or the 1 chord, I could start with. And then I'll go into playing some scale notes, just even some random things. I'll just stay in the key. And when the next chord drops, I know it's going to be, it was a 4, I think. Okay, so it'd be like I'm doing this without backing music, so you can do it. So it'd be like, let's start with the B. Again, one of the things that I always learned back in the late 80s, I was always wondered why other guitar players that on records and on MTV and everything, they always sounded so good. But I knew the scale, I knew some scales, and but yet it didn't sound as good. Well, not only are they super talented, but I was just playing riffs over the key, and it kind of some hit and miss in there. It's like, but if you listen to some players like David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, who really set me going, his lead guitar follows the chords really tight. That tonal center, when he's playing the E chord, well, he is focusing on those 3 notes and then adding in other notes from the key mixed in there, but he's always resolving. There's always a suspension and resolve throughout the whole thing. And you can get away with a lot, because even if you slide into a note and you got maybe you're in a key but you're in the wrong chord, it's okay, because you're probably 1 note away from, so it's just kind of suspension, just like bend to the next note and bend down to the other note behind it, and you'll probably be right on. But so let's look at this chord progression. I don't know what this is really. I listened to a small bit of it, but let's listen. It says it's an E. There's an E, and I can tell from my experience that's the 4, A. And then it does a 6. Back to a 4. On to the root notes. I'm staying on the root of each chord. Now I'm going to go to the 5ths. All right, so you can see kind of what I did there was following just whole notes, half notes, whatever, along with the chords. Now let's try something different. Now what I do when I improvise is I target notes, and it usually kind of gets me started on. Sorry it's a little dark, but I like it. And I'm not really showing you fingerings on the guitar neck. We're just talking. That's tonight's lesson. It's kind of a lecture on improvisation. So it's got a good amount of time on each one of these chords. So let me start over again. So I would do something like maybe like. Okay, so you can see I was kind of like, sorry about my phone. I'm kind of like just following my way through there, and I'm listening. I'm listening for something that catches my ear, something that says, "Oh, I got to repeat that," or "Oh, I know what I need to do next." And if you know your chords and the key, you know, major, E major, in your chords or any major key, well enough, you can almost, when you hear it in your head or feel, it's almost like a feeling. And you just kind of try to find those notes. You'll probably get the right notes because you're using the chords that you're backed by as a guide. So that is E, A, C minor, A. And so there, almost right from the very get-go, I kind of realized what those were. That's experience. But if you have it written down, or looking on the video, a lot of the videos these days on like this is that it has the chords written out as they go by, even what the next chord's going to be. So you can kind of see both of them, and you kind of get a good understanding of that. And that's Elevated Jam Tracks. Go to Elevated Jam Tracks. He has a lot of good tracks. I use a lot of his stuff. Anyway, but you can want to keep things simple. Now, what I did at the beginning of that was I focused on the 5th of the root chord of the E. Something like that. And I know that I ended up on that note, which in my mind was part of the E major pentatonic. Right there. So I'm thinking a pentatonic scale at that point. I'm thinking finding my note. Oh, there's the E right here, the little E chord way up here, and there's the B, or the 5th of the chord. I'm gonna do that because that always sounds really great, fills in real nice. And then I know I went back. I did something in the key, and then I went back. And when I landed on that note right there, that's actually a G sharp. We're playing an A right there, but I played the note right behind A, and it sounded good because it kind of creates an A major 7 like that. So you're kind of also in the next tier up from just following your triads in your scale, you're adding a little bit of a visual of the pentatonic in there, so you can do pentatonic, go back into chord tones, go into the major scale. Those three things you want to get fluid with. Triad tones to kind of get you where you need to be, to kind of point you in the right direction, what the next one's going to be, and then you use a scale or pentatonic scale to get there, or the full major scale to get there. So you're kind of just dancing around these chords, and you're listening for what sounds good and what you might want to repeat, or what you feel like you want to attempt to kind of do. And then you begin to add in technique with it, different types of riffs, different types of sequences, different types of picking, different types of effects, different types of things, sliding, staccato, legato, all these different things you begin to pile on top. And those things, after a while, those things become kind of natural. Those things are going to be natural because you're doing exercises every day, right, on different picking techniques, different techniques. Those things will just kind of just be right, just put right in there. So let's look at that again and see what happens, see if something different happens. So. Okay, so there, I kind of improvised some swells, and what I did, I didn't start on the E chord was the first chord. I didn't do the regular triad tone. I did the major seventh. I mean, which was that E flat over the E, so it created a nice lifted feel, and it sounds really good. Then I went to the right there. In my mind, that was another pentatonic note, and I was taking a little bit of a chance right there, because at that moment I'm thinking it goes to A, but the A notes would have been, the proper note there on that string would have been, which would have worked great, but I went to the one behind it, because that's the third of the A. That's the third of the A chord, but I went to the second, which gives it a real kind of open, interesting feel to it. And then I just kind of went down the pentatonic scale, and then or the full major scale. I wasn't even sure if I was gonna match up with the chords exactly, because when you play a pentatonic scale, a couple of the notes that will really trip you up are kind of missing. So when you play pentatonic, you can there's a lot of grace there, a lot of mercy. But if I did hear something that sounded a little strange, I would have corrected, moved up or down a note, and probably found the right note at that point. It wouldn't have been out of key, it just would have been odd sounding for a moment, or maybe suspended for a moment. And then I ended up over that A, which the E would have been the fifth of the A, but I went down, which that's an interesting one. The A there, I moved the third up to a augmented fourth, which is, just part of the scale, part of the E scale. So, but I took a chance there, and it sounded kind of nice. Has a kind of an eerie sound to it. So you can kind of start to mess with harmony at that point when you start getting good at this stuff and improvising, following the chords, the tonal center of the chord, and then branching out a little bit to some other harmonies, some other color tones. Like, let me try to play these sevenths for each one of these if I can, and we'll hear how sevenths sound perfect, right in key. So that's going to be a major 7 on the one chord, and then there's going to be a major 7 on the 4 chord, and then on this one's going to be weird because it's got a minor 7. So that'll be.
Someone was detected at your backyard.
Right, that's what that's going to kind of be like. I kind of worked it out in your head a little bit there. Okay, so right there, I kind of just did the sevenths harmony over each of the chords, and it might not have been the best thing to do. You know, I mean, you kind of want to, mix it up a little bit. I like the first one a lot, and then I kind of ended up on that A chord with the A major 7. Now the band's not playing the major 7 chord there. I'm implying that, I'm taking control of the harmony and sticking that in there, and it sounds nice. Added that in there, but then I've deviated from that, which is a nice 7th color tone, and I kind of resolved, but I didn't resolve back to the 4 chord. I actually resolved to the 5 chord, which we haven't even played yet, and it sounded nice. Hear that? It's kind of like a second. It has a real nice open vibe to it. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, kind of what I like to do when I'm making stuff up. And so anyway, I hear the family's wrestling about out there. But anyway, work on improvisation, just playing along. Find the key. Make sure your song's in the key that you know. Start out with just a little section. If you don't know the whole key all over the neck, that's okay. Just play it in one little section. Just right there. But just the trick is trying to follow the chords. Like this would be, in this position right here, would be the 1 chord. Then it goes to the 4 chord, then back to the 6, and back to the 4. So in my mind, I'm seeing, your chords, you might know chords, they may be like far apart in your mind, but if in a position when you're playing up on the neck, you want to find where those chords are. It's all 3 of the chords that we're playing on that part right there. So let me demonstrate that again. I'll play in that position only. I just noticed there is a 5 chord in there at the end of that. So, but anyway, so that was just playing in one position there. But I was trying to really dominate on those chordal tones. So that's what you want to do. You want to follow the tonal center when you're improvising. And it's kind of like at that point you can begin to play like you're painting. Just painting. You want to play. Do I want to do this kind of stroke or this kind of stroke? Do I want to do this or slow or fast? You can just think of emotions, and if you have all these licks and riffs in your heart, they'll come out through those emotions on the right chord and the right note. So anyway, God bless you.